What if I told you that one of Italy's oldest wineries wasn't founded to make wine at all? Instead, it was founded to care for exhausted travelers crossing the Alps nearly 900 years ago. Yet today, that same monastery produces one of Italy's most distinctive white wines from a grape many wine drinkers have never even heard of. This is Abbazia di Novacella, and today we're going to discover how a medieval monastery became one of Alto Adige's most important wine producers before tasting its 2021 Sylvaner. But to understand the wine, we first need to understand the valley. Valli Sarco, or Eisachtal in German, lies in the northern part of Alto Adige, close to the Austrian border. The valley follows the Isarco River as it flows south from the Brenner Pass, one of Europe's most important alpine crossings. This is no ordinary wine region. Around the city of Bressanone, vineyards occupy some of the northernmost wine-growing sites in Italy. For thousands of years, this valley served as a gateway between the German-speaking world and the Italian peninsula. Merchants, pilgrims, nobles, clergy, and armies all passed through here. Today, the region contains roughly 500 hectares of vineyards and has become famous for white wines rather than reds. But unlike many famous wine regions, Valli Sarco is not known for one dominant grape. Instead, it is a region of specialists: Kerner, Riesling, Müller-Thurgau, Gruner Veltliner, and perhaps most intriguingly, Sylvaner, a grape that has largely disappeared from the spotlight elsewhere in Europe. At first glance, Valli Sarco seems like an unlikely place for vineyards. The vineyards sit between 600 and 1,000 meters above sea level. The climate is alpine. Winters are cold. Yet the valley receives surprisingly abundant sunshine and relatively little rainfall. Warm days are followed by dramatically cooler nights. Those temperature swings allow grapes to ripen slowly while preserving freshness and acidity. The soils are equally important. Most vineyards sit on glacial and morainic deposits left behind by the Ice Age. These soils contain granite, quartz, silicates, gravel, and other mineral-rich materials. Water drains easily through them, forcing vines to root deeply. The result is a style of wine that is often described as fresh, precise, mineral, and elegant. Everything about the valley favors aromatic white wines, and that fact would eventually shape the destiny of both the monastery and the grape we're tasting today. To understand Abbazia di Novacella, we first need to understand why monasteries became involved in wine at all. During the Middle Ages, wine was far more than a luxury. It was required for the celebration of Mass. Churches needed it, monasteries needed it, pilgrims consumed it, and monasteries frequently sold it in their taverns and guesthouses. As Christianity spread across Europe, so did the need for reliable wine production. At the same time, many noble families faced a different problem. Political rivalries were common, land disputes were frequent, property could easily be lost during conflicts. One solution was to donate land to religious institutions. Land under church protection often enjoyed greater security than land held directly by noble families. Beginning in the 8th century, monasteries accumulated vineyards through donations, purchases, inheritance, and exchanges. As a result, they became some of the most important custodians of viticulture in Europe. Monasteries preserved vineyards, expanded them, and passed agricultural knowledge from one generation to the next. Without them, many wine-growing traditions might have disappeared entirely. Abbazia di Novacella was founded in 1142. The founder was Bishop Hartman of Bressanone, a reform-minded church leader inspired by the Augustinian tradition. He was assisted by the noble couple Reginbert and Christina of Sabin, who donated land, farms, and vineyards to support the new institution. And this is where the story becomes fascinating. The monastery was not founded primarily to make wine, it was founded because of geography. Novacella sat directly along one of Europe's busiest alpine routes. Travelers moving between Italy and the German-speaking world constantly passed through the valley. Many arrived exhausted after crossing difficult mountain terrain. The monastery offered food, shelter, medical assistance, protection, and spiritual guidance. In many ways, Novacella functioned as a medieval service station for Europe. The Augustinian canons who lived here were not isolated monks. They taught students, served local parishes, received travelers, managed agricultural estates, and cared for surrounding communities. The monastery quickly became an important regional institution. By 1177, only a few decades after its foundation, papal records already confirmed its vineyard holdings. Wine soon became one of the economic engines that supported the monastery's activities. The vineyards generated income, supported hospitality, supplied religious ceremonies, and helped sustain the community for centuries. Today, nearly 900 years after its foundation, the abbey remains active and continues producing wine. That continuity alone is remarkable. Now we arrive at the mystery. Why Sylvaner? At one point, Sylvaner was one of Central Europe's most important white grapes. It comes from a cross between Traminer and the local Austrian varietal Österreichische Weiss, which is more than 500 years old. It was widely planted in Germany and Alsace. Yet over time, consumer taste changed. Plantings declined. In many regions, Sylvaner faded into obscurity, but not here. Why? Well, the first reason is climate. Sylvaner performs best in cool environments where it can maintain freshness and subtle aromatics. Valle Sarco provides exactly that. Sylvaner is not an especially powerful or aromatic grape. In warmer regions, it can become neutral and uninspiring. In Valle Sarco, however, the grape develops freshness, tension, minerality, subtle fruit, and elegance. The second reason is soil. Sylvaner is known for expressing its terroir clearly. The valley's glacial soils, rich in quartz, granite, and mineral deposits, give the wines a distinctive character. And the third reason is culture. For centuries, Alto Adige belonged to the Austrian sphere. The region's language, architecture, and agricultural traditions remained closely connected to the German-speaking world. Sylvaner never felt foreign here, it felt at home. Finally, there's continuity. While other regions chased trends, Valle Sarco gradually defined itself as a white wine region focused on a small number of varieties. Sylvaner became part of that identity. The valley never had a reason to abandon it. In a sense, while the rest of Europe moved on from Sylvaner, Valle Sarco simply stayed loyal to a grape that fit the landscape perfectly. Alright, well now we're getting to maybe the most exciting part, finally trying some wine from Alto Adige. So here, as I said in the second episode of my series, we are going to try the Sylvaner from Abbazia di Novacella. This is a 2021 vintage, and it is 100% Sylvaner. So I've already opened it, and it's been open for around 10 minutes, more or less. We can see here the wonderful color. So having a very sort of honeyed yellow. Just gonna give it a little whirl here. So this wine typically would be best to drink as young as possible to get that zip, a lot of that citrus and that fruit-forward expression, but it can be aged for a few years. I mean, right now it's been aged for 5 years in the bottle, and so we're going to be getting a little bit more of like a honeycomb, honey wax, maybe a little bit more herbal as well. So it just depends on the type of wine that you like. And so right now, after being in the glass for about 10 minutes, getting a few notes of honeydew, melon, apricot, peach, some mountain flowers as well. I get honeysuckle. It reminds me a lot of honeysuckle when I was a kid. Now on the palate, it still has that acidity and minerality to it, but because it's been aged for 5 years now, It has become a little bit more nuanced, a little softer, a little rounder, which is to be expected. And talking about the fermentation process, so they mostly ferment in stainless steel, but a quarter of the fermentation process occurs in acacia barrels. So not French oak or American oak, but acacia, which was actually fairly common in this region for a while. And the unique thing about acacia barrels is that it's not going to heavily influence the wine. It's a very delicate, very subtle type of wood. And so that's what you want for these type of wines, because Sylvaner is a very delicate grape. And it needs the optimal scenarios for it to really express itself. And if you start to impart those nutty, vanilla, tobacco, all of these other barrel notes that you might get from French oak or American oak, you're not really going to understand the character and what this grape can bring. You want to keep that citrus, you want to keep it vibrant. And in this case with acacia, it is going to impart some of those flowery notes. But as I mentioned, it's much more delicate than American oak or French oak. And talking about pairings, I actually was fortunate enough to bring with me a few different cheeses when I went to this part of Italy, and I also visited Austria along the way. And so here we can see we have Trentingrana, which actually comes from Trentino. Then we have some Alpine mountain cheeses from Austria. And these type of cheeses work wonderfully with Sylvaner. So talking first about the Trentingrana is quite nutty, slightly salty, but fruity even. And so with this grape, with Sylvaner, this cheese is going to bring out that fruit-forward expression of the wine. Now, if you say, Victor, well, I don't have access to Austrian Alpine cheese or Trentingrana, which can be really hard to get, well, there's another really fun pairing that is easily accessible for people. And in this case, talking about potato chips. So here we have some kettle sea salt potato chips, something very simple. Right? You don't really want to go with potato chips that have really, really strong flavors, like spicy flavors or sour cream and onion. You want something simple. And in this case, again, we're going to go with this sort of umami, salty root, where because of the salt and the saline factor of the potato chips, that's really going to drive home those fruit expressions, and it's going to make those peach and melon and apricot notes really drive home. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video focusing on Abbazia di Novacella and their Sylvaner, which is honestly one of my favorite white varietals that exist. And unfortunately, it's not so common to find, but I would highly suggest for you to seek it out and taste a bit of history, because as I mentioned before, this monastery, this winery has been operating for over 900 years, and it's a one-of-a-lifetime experience, in my opinion. So tune in next time, because in the next episode, we're going to be staying in Alto Adige, but going a bit further south and trying a Pinot Bianco, which is a completely different experience. So once again, Abbazia di Novacella. Please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. What did you think? Have you ever tried Sylvaner? Maybe has this video pushed you a little bit to try and find it and seek it out? Let me know. Until then, see you next time.